then we're going to get to grading and hopefully clear all the questions and make it really evident, right? All right? So this is the book, Immunobiology, right? And I'm still trying to figure out how to use those online features and how to assign them to you. I'm waiting for a call back from the rep because I thought it would be as simple as some other platforms that we have that was just like click a button and shows up in Canvas. And there is no button to show up in Canvas. So I got totally confused. So I'm waiting for the rep to call me back so I can integrate this thing. So this is the book, Immunobiology, the latest one that got published. And here is the deal with the grade, okay? You are going to be graded in 4 exams. So we're going to have 4 unit exams, okay? So each unit exam is not cumulative. So we are going from the, like now from first lecture until the lecture we cover just before the exam. So that's the subject, those 13s, whatever is going to be included in the exam. And then for exam number 2, you're going to start with the subject right after the first exam until whatever we cover up to exam 2. So unit exams are not cumulative, right? So here you have 4 of them. Besides those 4 exams, you are going to have an optional final exam. Okay, so I'm going to put here optional final. So that is your 5th exam, okay? That one is cumulative, right? So why would you, oh, sorry. I told my son that I'm in class, and yes, I do like a queen. Okay, so let me just tell him I cannot answer right now. Okay, he also comes here to FAU, so. All right. So we're talking about the cumulative final, right? So cumulative final, why would you want to take it? Oh, let's say that you did not do very well in one of the 4 unit exams, right? And you want to improve your grade. So you study for the cumulative final, you take the cumulative final. If you do better, you can delete one of the grades for the 4 exams. Okay, so you delete the bad grade. If you do worse in the cumulative final, then that's the grade that gets deleted. Okay, if you take the 5 exams, one lowest grade is going to be dropped. If you take only 4 exams, then all of these 4 exams are going to be counted. Okay, then it's like the 5th exam has a 0, and that's the grade that gets dropped. Okay, but then again, cumulative is not mandatory. One bonus thing for the final exam is that I allow you to bring your cheat sheet. Okay, I actually got to pronounce the sheet thing. Yeah, I'm a native Portuguese speaker, so the English accent, well, sorry, that's life. All right, so you can bring in your cheat sheet, okay, and you have to write it on your own. Don't print it. Okay, it has to be handwritten, and a regular piece of paper, 2.5 by 11. You can write front and back. Okay, so you can prepare a cheat sheet, but only for the cumulative final, right? Okay, and let's say that you miss one exam and you don't have a good excuse for missing the exam. Okay, if you miss an exam and you do have a good excuse, I'll figure out a way to get you a makeup exam, right? But if you don't have a good excuse, then you have to take the cumulative final. Okay, so that's your makeup exam. Any questions about that? No, all right. So 4 exams count 60% of your final grade. Then you're going to have these guys here, the weekly quizzes. That's 40% of your total grade. Okay, so I'm going to put up those quizzes on Canvas. Right, so this is the part that I have to figure out. Hi, welcome. Immunology? Yeah? All right. So I'm going to put up those quizzes. Hopefully I'll figure out very quickly with these people on with the Norton site, okay, how to put those up. And the way that I set up the quizzes is that I give you 2 chances of, taking the quiz, so you keep your highest score, okay? And I usually give you like plenty of time, so you're not pressed for, for answering everything quickly. Yes.
So the quizzes would be through that ebook?
Yes. Yes, the thing is, if I can figure it out, if they help me to set it up, then I'll put the quizzes through there. If not, I'll just put up my own quizzes. Okay, but the setup of the quiz is usually like that. I can give you 2 chances of taking the quizzes, and as long as you know the subject, you know, it's a way of practicing for the unit exams. Okay. All right. So iClicker is going to count up to 10% of your final grade. Okay. I will not be uploading the iClicker points as we go along because that thing totally messes up the Canvas platform and it totally drives me crazy. Okay, so make sure you keep track of your iClicker points. And I know iClicker glitches a lot of times and it's a pain in the neck. So, well, it is what it is. Okay, those are extra credit points anyway. All right, so hopefully you accumulate enough of those points that if a glitch happens here and there, that's not going to influence your extra credit points. Any questions about the grading? No, we good? Okay. All right, so here is the site or the QR code to join for the iClicker. And actually, if everybody has the iClicker or if everybody gets ready, then we can even start getting extra credit today. So let me see with a show of hands who would be ready to start today with the iClicker. Yeah, who does not have a clicker, never heard of it, and would prefer to start on Thursday? And who did not understand the question? That should, yeah, the app, yeah, that should work fine. All right, so if everybody agrees, I will plug in my iClicker base. Do I have any objections? This is your time. I just picked it. Yeah? Objection? Okay. Okay. No? We're good? Okay. So just to make sure, because I don't want to be unfair. If you're not ready with the iClicker, then we wait for Thursday to start it. Otherwise, we can just start accumulating points now. Okay.
Objections.
Objection?
Yeah.
All right. So we start on Thursday then. Okay. All right. So I will put my iClicker away. So what we're going to do, I did upload the PDF for this lecture, yes? Either the app or the remote, doesn't matter. Yeah, but make sure that you have, whatever you're going to use, you have it registered with your iClicker account. And yeah, and you make sure that it is the school email. Okay? Because I had like several cases that somebody was using Gmail or something else, and then the points did not get transferred to the campus, big mess. So if you're going to give me more work, I'm not going to be happy. Okay. All right. So this information is on the PDF. Okay. So you can register, and we start on Thursday. So the questions that I put here for iClicker sample questions, we are going to start Thursday with those extra credit points. Okay. Oh yeah, how the extra credit really works. If you show up in class and you turn on your iClicker thing, you already get a point for showing up. Okay. Attendance is not mandatory, but if you don't show up, you don't get attendance points. Okay, so those are also extra credits. Yes. You have a question? No? No? Okay. So let's say now I put a question up and you read the question, you have no idea what the question is asking and much less about the answer. But you say, well, I'm going to try to answer it anyway. So you just guess the answer. You're going to get 1 point for guessing. Okay? If you get it correctly, you're going to get another point for getting it right. All right, so just to attempt to answer, you get a point. To answering it correctly, you get 2 points for that one question. Okay? So basically, even if you are semi-asleep, you press a button, you get the extra credit points. Okay? All right, so how is the class organized? When you open the Canvas, you are going to see that we have modules, right? Also notice that all this information is here in the simple syllabus, right? So I like to use the modules, and I divide the modules into weeks, okay? So here for the first week, we have introduction to the class, to immunology, to basic concepts. Okay, so that's a page. And then you're going to have your updated PDF file, and usually that updated file is going to be like just before the class, okay? So after that, you're going to have videos of each lecture, okay? So 2 lectures this week, 1 very big PowerPoint file, and this PowerPoint is going to be used for the 2 lectures. So you already have in the modules, you already have the videos from last year, okay? So if you want to have this introduction to each topic that is covered, you can watch the video and start understanding it. Because I tell you, immunology, it's not very much intuitive. You have to spend some time with it. You have to really understand what's going on, what are the molecules doing, what are the cells doing, and then like what are the personalities of each one of those cells, and how they're communicating, how they're doing a cross-talking, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of practice with questions, and it takes some digestion time to internalize what's going on. Okay, so I would advise you to prepare before coming to class and cover whatever is on the previous lectures videos. Okay, so you have a better preparation, and you're not just like jumping in cold turkey and then trying to understand it very quickly before the exam. That's not a very good way to study. And I will also give you other resources and any specific strategies for studying for this class. Okay, how to use AI for your advantage. Yes. I tend not to. So questions about curving. So I tend not to curve, but I tend to be fair. So what I ask in the exam is what I teach in the class. Okay, you're never going to find something that I had never mentioned. Okay, and usually I give you a clue, like this part is important. This is like is going to be in the test. I just tell you I'm going to ask you about this. If I say no clue, then we have to focus on a specific topic. Okay, but yeah, but I don't really like to curve. Okay. All right, so that was the organization. All right, so this is one fun site. It's called ImmuneQuest. Okay. And I did open a course for this class. So here is the course code, right? So you follow the link and you look at the course code. Here is a little video describing what this video game is about. Okay, let me see if I just go here. I'm just going to show you. No, it's not going to show you. Oh, I'll click on the video on your own time, and you see it's actually a fun thing to do. You have all these little monsters that are the cells of the immune system, and their weapons of defense, and then you have the bacteria and pathogens. Yes.
Do you have a TA for this class?
No, I don't. No. And even for last year that we had 90 students in the class, I still don't have a TA. So yeah, so it's only me. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Can I ask a question? For the test, study guides, review, or anything to prepare for?
Yes, I will provide you. I'm not sure if I can come up with a study guides, but I will provide you plenty of practice and resources that you can use to study for these exams, especially the more practice questions you do, the better you get it done.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have an assignment?
I don't think so. I looked before, for the SI, and I didn't find it, so most likely not. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, sorry, you're on your own, and me. Okay. Yeah, those upper level classes are, yeah. Okay. So so before we go into this overview of the immune system, I want to show you the Jove resource. So I wanted to have it also recorded, but continuation here for the overview of the immune system. Okay, so here we have 7 learning objectives for the 2 classes for the first week. Okay, so what is it we have to know here? We are going to see how this immune system is subdivided. We're going to look at the first line of defense. This is what the pathogens are going to find before it invades the body. Okay. Then we're going to see 2 subdivisions of the immune system. So you have the adaptive immune system and the innate immune system. Right. So innate immune system is something you are born with. So you don't have to teach it. It is born. It is what it is. You're born with it. The adaptive immune system is the one that develops a memory. Right? So in practical terms, the innate immune system does not have a memory. So every time it finds a pathogen, it reacts the same way. So 2 subdivisions here of innate system functions. Right? Then we're going to have start to have an idea about the organs that are important for the development of the immune system. So you're going to have your primary immune system tissues or organs, and then you're going to have your secondary lymphoid tissues or immune system organs. Okay, primary and secondary. For the primary immune system organs, your cells are going to develop there, and basically they're going to fully develop in your primary organs. For the secondary is those are the tissues that the developed cells are going to meet antigens, or it's going to meet pathogen. Okay, and you're going to start looking at how is it that cells of the immune system recognize the pathogens. So for the innate immune system, you're going to have a set number of receptors that are already present, and they're always the same for the species. Okay, they don't really change, and they're going to always work the same way. There are some receptors that are going to recognize some patterns on the surface of pathogens. Some of them are going to recognize damaged molecules. Okay, so for the ones that recognize pathogens, those are called pathogens associated molecular patterns, or PAMPs. The ones that recognize damaged stuff, they're damage associated molecular patterns, right? So you have these specific ways of recognizing pathogens or damaged stuff, and this is all part of your innate immune response. Okay, then you're going to start looking at what are the strategies of the immune system to kill the pathogens, and if they cannot directly kill the pathogens, they have to kill the cell that is infected with the pathogen. Okay, so you're going to look at phagocytosis, that means eating up the pathogen and digesting it. Then you're going to look at damaging the pathogen so the pathogen can get killed. Okay, or you're going to look at killing cells that are infected with the pathogen. Yeah, the cell is going to die, but the pathogen is going to die with the cell. Okay. All right, so after these strategies of killing, then we're going to start looking at cellular interactions, okay? And how the cells stimulate each other to do their work. And this is when we start talking about adaptive immune response, right? And then at the end, when the pathogen gets eliminated, you have to talk about stopping the reaction, okay? Because it is very important for the immune system to start this fight against this potential, deadly thing. But after the threat is eliminated, you don't want the immune system to keep on working. You want to quiet it down. Otherwise, you're going to have immune system problems. You're going to have the immune system attacking your own cells, and that's not a good thing. So you have to know how to start, how to amplify the response, and then how to quiet it down. Okay, so this is an overall idea about the entire system, like at once. Yeah, I know it feels more like drinking from fire hydrant, right? But we're going to break down into pieces and make it actually sample. All right. So here we go into chapter 1, which is, basic concepts. Okay. All right. Besides that, I like to use those osmosis videos, but I always put up the ones that are free and available on YouTube. I find them very, very helpful. So here is a link for an osmosis video. Okay. All right. So here is a small integration with that ImmunoQuest video game, right? So the part 1 of that video game, basically what they have is like the first responders for an invasion of microorganisms. So that's going to start, telling you about the innate immune system. So you're going to have here the first cells of innate immune system that start to protect you. So basically the macrophage, those are the ones that eat up bacteria or microorganisms, right? And you're going to have these concepts of innate immune system activity, right? So now taking a step back, instead of just looking at subdivisions of what the system is doing, we're just going to look at the whole picture, okay? Basically, we, as individual human beings, we are not only made up of eukaryotic cells, right? So we have, together with our eukaryotic cells, we also have our microbiome. Everybody heard of the microbiome? Yeah. Who has no idea what the microbiome is? Okay. Everybody heard about it, right? You have all these friendly bacteria. They are in a lot of places in your body, especially on the surface. They are on your skin. They are in the mucous tissues. They are on the surface. They are inside the lumen of your intestines, right? At the end of the small intestine and throughout your large intestine, you have a lot of friendly bacteria. So, and also in your airways, right? And, until before getting to the lungs, you have all different types of bacteria. On your hands, on your hair, everywhere you look in your body, you're going to find some bacteria that they usually live there. You're going to find also other microorganisms that are bigger than bacteria, and they also live there, right? Most of them are harmless. They don't cause any disease. And a lot of them are beneficial, like your commensal bacteria in your intestines. They allow you to extract certain nutrients from foods, and they'll produce certain vitamins that you need and you don't produce yourself. Okay, so many of them are beneficial. So you need to work with them. It's part of you. Okay, and especially when we talk about commensal microorganisms, they teach your immune system how to develop, how to behave. Okay, they teach your immune system what is supposed to be self from what is supposed to be non-self. Okay, and one example that I like to mention, even at this stage, is the example of blood types, right? So the different blood types, they're out there. The most common ones, you have type A, type B, type AB, and type O, right? And as we're going to see later, each one of these blood types have certain forms of sugars on the surface of the red blood cell, right? Now, let's say that if you have type B blood, you have the B antigen on your red blood cell. So that teaches your immune system not to develop antibodies against that B antigen, right? Because if you develop antibodies against the B antigen, antibodies are those proteins that are important to recognize foreign things or potential threats, right? If you develop antigens, you're going to attack your own cells. So the presence of the antigen on the surface of that red blood cell, so let's draw here a blood cell here, little presence of a little antigen here. Let's say this is the B antigen. That is going to tell your immune system, don't attack me. Okay, so your immune system is going to learn. Now, one thing that the B red blood cell, one thing that this red blood cell does not have is an A antigen. Okay? So if you have somebody who is type A, then that person who is type A is going to have an A antigen right there. But the big guy doesn't have it, right? So this person here that does not have the antigen, now the immune system is going to develop antibodies against type A antigen. And that you learn, you get some biology classes, you learned about broad compatibility. Everybody heard about broad compatibility before, I hope? Yes, yes. And do you know why you develop antigens? You develop antibody against the antigen that is not there. Yes, because it is foreign. But that's the thing. In order for your immune system to develop an antibody, to develop a response, it has to be exposed to that antigen. It has to be exposed. You have to have at least one exposure to an antigen for your immune system to remember it. That is adaptive immunity, okay? And then you look at this and you say, wait a minute, type B allows your immune system to develop antibodies against the A thing, but when are you ever exposed to type A blood? And that's a question like, you are not. You're not supposed to. So how is it that your immune system knows to develop antibodies against type A? And this is a question that I never really stopped to think about. Does anybody know the answer? Yeah. You're going far away, further, deeper into another problem. But yeah, she said pregnancy, but not quite. When we get there, we get into more of those things. Yeah. Because I say your mom is type B, your dad is type B, you're going to be type B, so you never get exposed to type A. And you're still going to have antibodies for type A. The answer is because of your microbiome, okay? In your microbiome, you're going to have the same type of patterns of sugars on the surface of bacteria that are equivalent to those little things on the surface of red blood cells. So if your body does not have this that says this is self, don't attack me, then your immune system is going to develop antibodies to attack something that is not present, is not part of you, okay? So I know that this is like starting a big discussion on how is this thing developing. The important point on all this brief discussion is that your microbiome is going to teach your immune system how to behave. If you don't have microbes, your immune system is not going to develop, okay? And experiments are done using mice, like germ-free mice. Not only the immune system does not develop properly, the nervous system does not develop properly either. It's like, what does one thing have to do with the other? Okay? The nerves, the central nervous system, the brain of those rodents do not develop properly. So you need your microbiome for proper brain development. Okay? And that brings me also into another topic related to the microbiome. You want to keep your microbiome healthy, right? What does that mean?
Nutrients.
Nutrients, what kind? Those are supplements or vitamins. Proteins. I'm thinking something more like simple. Yogurt, yeah, that's good. That's good. What is good for your gut? What is good for your microbiome? Probiotics. Okay, you could call them probiotics. Yes. No, what's her name? Brian. Yes. Brian says non-processed foods. Yes. That's all I want to do here. Non-processed foods. That means whole foods or fruits and vegetables. Simple. Hopefully without pesticides. Right? Fruits and vegetables. Right? You keep your microbiome happy, it will keep you happy and healthy, right? If you eat processed foods, or most particularly ultra-processed foods, they're not even foods, they're food-like substances, right? You look at the label of a food, and if you find more than 10 ingredients, especially ones that you don't even know what it means, that means the stuff is processed and most likely ultra-processed. That stuff kills the good bacteria in your gut. Okay? If you don't have good bacteria in your gut, you're not going to have the metabolites that communicate with your brain for proper brain function. Means cognition, reasoning, recall and retention, long-term memory, all the stuff that happens in your brain needs good gut bacteria. Okay? So whatever your grandmother was telling you to eat, now's the time to listen. All right? Avoid ultra-processed foods as much as you can. Right? Okay, so here you have your commensal bacteria that are really, really good for you. Okay? It is going to help you to keep your body homeostasis. So keep the body in balance. So with good bacteria, you're going to have symbiosis, like living together in harmony. You're going to create a good gut barrier. Okay, that means low permeability of bad stuff into your system, all right? You're going to have good gut-brain immune system communication. So there is this thing called the gut-brain axis. That has to do with the function of your microbiome, okay? So everything is fine and going well if your nutrition and is supporting your microbiome. Now, let's say that you do eat a lot of these ultra-processed foods, you're going to end up with some form of dysbiosis. That can lead to permeability of bacteria that is not supposed to be in your bloodstream, that is not supposed to be in your system. Okay, it's supposed to be only in your gut. Okay? Even if the bacteria is supposed to be good bacteria, if it invades your bloodstream, it becomes bad. Okay? You don't want bacteria in your bloodstream. That is going to be bacteremia, and that can cause sepsis, and then you're going to die. Okay? So keeping good gut barrier is very, very important to prevent sepsis and prevent high gut permeability. If you stay on highly processed foods for a very long time, you're going to end up with some form of chronic inflammation that is a dysfunction of your immune system. And that is going to happen not now, but when you're older, after 50 years old or so. Okay? Besides that, you're going to have problems with metabolism. Oh, we can talk a lot about metabolism, but yeah, I have to digress for immunology only. Right? So it's very interesting. All right. And of course, you're going to have central nervous system and peripheral nervous system problems. Okay? So keep your gut healthy and happy, and your whole system is going to be thanking you later. And right now, actually. All right, so here's an example of what happens in case you destroy your good bacteria by any means that you can have, like destroying good bacteria. So what's the story here? Let's say here you have good level of commensal bacteria. Those are your friendly gut stuff, right? Good level of commensal bacteria, and you have a nice barrier in your mucous membrane, in your intestines, right on the lumen of the intestines. And the idea here is that a good fence make great neighbors, right? So you have a nice barrier here, so gut bacteria are happy, and your cells are happy, everything is working fine. Now, let's say that you got an infection somewhere in your body. Let's say you have a ear infection. Right? Anybody had an ear infection before? It is painful. It is so painful, right? So, I don't know how it is right now, but when my sons were kids, they're not kids anymore, they're like 25 and 20. So when they were little, my older son especially used to have a lot of ear infections. So I rushed with him to the pediatrician, and first thing the pediatrician would do is antibiotic, oral antibiotics. You know, the little pink stuff, you squirt in them. It tastes good like bubblegum or something, but yeah, oral antibiotics. And it would be in a kind that was like broad range. It would kill whatever bacteria would come across. right? It's actually a bad idea because you have other ways of treating ear infection if it is a simple case of external or mid-ear infection, right? Can anybody tell me what is an alternative to antibiotics for getting rid of an ear infection? No, that's actually painful. Natural way, yes. Something like that. We're getting there. Oh, yeah, could be considered food. Okay, you never had like grandmothers who took care of infected ear? Oh, I'm sad. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story, okay? Yeah, I'm known for telling you stories. So, little story. When I was 7 years old, that was the last time I remember having an ear infection, and it was painful. And why do I remember it? It was Christmas Eve. So we were waiting for Santa Claus, and my ear was killing me, right? So I didn't want to tell, I was my aunt at the time, I didn't want to tell my aunt and my grandmother because I didn't want to miss Santa Claus. Okay, and then came one point I couldn't take the pain anymore. You know, it's like, my ear is hurting. So there comes my grandmother with a little teaspoon, a metal teaspoon. She put a couple of drops of olive oil in there, and then she lit a match and she warmed up the olive oil. And in my head, I'm thinking that she's gonna dump that hot oil in my ear and it's gonna burn the whole thing down to my brain. It's gonna come out on the other side. It's like a torture movie. You know those medieval movies that they throw hot oil on people? That's the idea in my head. Okay, I was terrified. Okay, and then she's like, "No, I'm not gonna hurt you. It's not going to be. It's just gonna be fine." You know what did she do? Just body temperature 37 degrees. Don't boil the thing to death, otherwise it's going to hurt your ears. Just body temperature. Alternative to lighting it up, you just hold the spoon until it's warm if you have warm hands. Okay, you get a little bit of that oil, you make sure you test it is not too hot, you drop a couple of drops of olive oil like in the ear canal, and then you just put a bit of cotton just so the oil doesn't drip out, and it keeps it warm. Within 20 minutes, the pain was gone. Okay, because olive oil has certain properties that are antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, whatever you call it, right? And you didn't have to take systemic antibiotics. Okay? So there are certain remedies that are, old school and ancient type of remedies that can work very well for ear infection that is simple, that is not really inner ear or whatever, big complications of bursted tympanos and stuff. No, something simple, ear infection, try to avoid antibiotics. Nowadays, we have pediatricians who are more aware of natural remedies. Okay? Besides olive oil, you could also use tea tree oil. Oregano oil is very, very good. And lavender, I love lavender oil. Lavender essential oil, you gotta have it. Like, you gotta have it for first aid. Why? Because if you have a burn, you put lavender oil right away, you stop the burn reaction. And it's anesthetic. It's like buy one, get one free. Right? So I can tell you very, very good things about certain essential oils. So try to avoid taking systemic antibiotics. But let's say in this case here, you had a ear infection, you took systemic antibiotic, and you killed the bacteria in the ear, you clear up the infection, but you also killed a lot of your commensal bacteria. Okay? And you forgot to drink yogurt, so you're not recomposing it very quickly. Then what happened? When you kill the good bacteria, you usually have certain opportunistic pathogenic bacteria that are always hanging around. Right? When the good bacteria are not there in sheer numbers, your opportunistic pathogens are going to grow. Okay? Because at first, let's say you had like one opportunistic guy right there. Let's put a guy right there. Okay? But this guy was not growing, was not replicating, because he had to compete for nutrients with the rest of the good bacteria. So these guys are in a lot bigger number, so they would consume the good stuff before this opportunistic pathogen could really, have a feast, right? When your good bacteria is gone, now your opportunistic guy is going to start replicating. Now, one question would be, why didn't that guy die as well? Well, some of them did, okay? but usually opportunistic pathogenic bacteria are more resistant to antibiotics than the good guys. Okay, they will stick around for longer. It's a lot more difficult to kill pathogenic bacteria. All right. So when they have the opportunity, they start growing. And if it is a kind of bacteria, for example, as C. difficile, they are going to cause a lot of trouble in the intestines, like bloody diarrhea and all this kind of stuff. And it's very, very difficult to treat C. difficile bacterial infection, intestinal infection. Okay. So this is one way that your good bacteria protects you, right? And this is one mechanism that you can develop growth of resistant and opportunistic pathogenic bacteria. So talking about C. difficile, how can you get rid of this guy here if it is antibiotic resistant? It's not going to respond to antibiotics. What can you do to get rid of that guy? No, antibiotics are not going to do anything. A lot of this C. diff is like they're totally resistant to whatever you throw at them. If you don't treat it, you can die. Some cases, yeah. You make it harder for them to compete for resources, but more good bacteria. Exactly. You have to put enough good bacteria there to starve out and really get rid of the bad ones. Yeah, that's the FMT, fecal matter transplant. I know it sounds disgusting, right? But that's really the most effective way of treating C. diff. And there's a lot of story about that too. But anyway, I'll focus on the immunology. Right? All right, so overview here. It's important to have a big picture of what's going on. What are the systems that are working together to prevent opportunistic pathogens from taking over and killing you, but also to prevent disorders of the immune system from making you sick. So there are diseases such as autoimmune diseases or allergies, right? Allergies and even rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, lupus, and diabetes type 1. Okay, diabetes type 1, that those diseases develop because of dysfunction of the immune system. Okay, some dysfunctions of the immune system. So in order to understand what's going on, it's really, really important to take a step back and look at the big picture. So you're going to have several levels of defense. You're going to have all different types of cells that are going to work together. You're going to have friendly bacteria, opportunistic pathogens, real pathogens at any time, right? And you have to, the immune system has to make the choice, has to know what to do in each of those cases, to just kill the pathogen, kill the threat, and slow down the response when there is no threat, and make sure that it doesn't kill you. Okay? And then at the same time, the immune system has to figure out what are some of your own cells that go crazy, like for example, cells that become cancer cells. So you're going to have cells of the immune system that are specialized in detecting cancer cells. And those immune cells have to do their jobs of eliminating the cancer cells. Otherwise, cancer is going to keep on growing and that's going to kill you. And it's not a foreign thing that invaded your body, it was just something inside of your body that went crazy. Okay? All right. So here, what is really the immune system? You're going to have organs and tissues, and you're also going to have cells that are flowing around. You're going to have molecules like proteins that are very, very important for defense. The proteins are going to interact in a certain way to prevent infection. Okay, so all of this is going to interact to prevent infection from those microorganisms. And besides that, you're also going to have removal of toxins that some of the microorganisms can deposit in your system. Like there are certain bacteria that produce some very, very bad toxins, right? And besides all that, you also have to destroy your own cancer cells when they develop. And they do develop every day. So your immune system is always at work killing those cancer cells, right? So important thing for immune system to do is that it has to identify what it needs to attack. It has to attack. It has to get rid of whatever is the threat. And it has to remember that it already recognized a certain threat or a certain pathogen. So it has to keep memory of whatever invaded the body before, okay? And it has to be quick. All of this stuff has to happen like within 10 days or so, because if it doesn't happen, then the pathogen can be faster than the immune system and you're going to die, okay? So the immune system has to make all of these types of decisions, and then after it eliminates the pathogen, it also has to slow down, okay? It has to know when to act and when to slow down. All right. So here are some examples of human pathogens. Right? You have very, very tiny ones. So this is a scale, okay, in meters, right? So you have here, look, this is a very small scale. This is 1 centimeter. You know really what is 1 centimeter? It's this much. It's tiny. Like if you put in proportion here, 1 centimeter is like this much. This is 1 centimeter. Okay. So this whole scale here is your 1 centimeter in a log scale. Okay. So what is happening here? You have viruses. Those are really, really tiny. They are the size of little organelles that are inside of bacteria. Okay, you know, like organelles in bacteria. Yeah, those are protein-coated organelles in bacteria, not membrane-coated, because bacteria do not have membrane-coated organelles, right? So they have little protein cages. So these are the size of viruses. And this, after viruses, then you have here your bacteria. Right here is the dark one here. That's a little bacteria right there. And then things start getting bigger here. You can have, okay, so this guy here is an intracellular bacteria. It's quite small. So here's a big cell. This is the nucleus of the cell. Here's our intracellular bacteria. Then you can have also extracellular bacteria. Okay. And other types of bacteria and even protozoa, those are all extracellular. And then things get bigger, you can have fungi. Fungi are actually very difficult to get rid of, right? Because those start to be eukaryotic cells. Right? So you have your fungi here, and then these bugs get bigger, like to the dimension of a parasite here. And those are multicellular, right? Eukaryotic things. And that's a helmet worm, right? It gets to be quite large. So all sorts of pathogens that can invade and make you sick. All right. So every day we are exposed to all of these attacks, and it is really the job of your immune system to keep you healthy. Okay. So you have 4 major classes of pathogens. And that sounds like a good test question, right? So let's see here. You have viruses, bacteria, you have fungi, and you have parasites, right? So when something causes a disease, you call that thing a pathogen, right? If those things are not causing disease, you can call them commensals. Okay, but if they cause disease, those are pathogens. If they are quiet, not causing disease, but they have the potential of causing disease, you call them opportunistic pathogen. They're just waiting for a chance to create trouble. Okay? Those pathogens can either be inside of the cell or outside of the cell. So either intra or extracellular. All right. So here are some examples of well-known pathogens in each of those categories. Bless you. Okay. So you have here pathogen that causes smallpox, so that's variola virus. You have another one that causes AIDS, so HIV. You have measles virus, right? Influenza, rhinovirus. What is it that rhinovirus causes? Usually, a cold, right? Ebola. What does Ebola cause? Hemorrhagic fever. You bleed internally to death. And it's very contagious too. All right. Have you watched that movie? What's the name of the movie? Outbreak. Yeah, about Ebola virus. Scary. No. That's the kind of scary movie I watch. You know, it's not like Halloween movies. Those are just totally fake, right? All right. These guys are scary. Zika virus. Oh, I got a whole story on Zika virus, but yeah, I'm not going to take the time to tell you about it. All right, and coronavirus. Oh, what is a coronavirus? COVID, yeah, okay, COVID-19. All right. So example of bad viruses here. And then you get bacteria. Tuberculosis, Mycobacteria tuberculosis, bad cough, right? Pertussis, whooping cough. Have you heard of a child with pertussis? Poor baby, they cough so hard, sometimes they break their bones from coughing. Okay, but there is a vaccine for that, so this is unnecessary. Cholera. Have you heard of cholera? Febrile cholera? Watery diarrhea, that you cannot stop it. Have you seen a cholera bed? Like you lay down on that bed, and in the middle of the bed there is a hole because you keep on licking liquidy diarrhea, so they just put a bucket under the bed and you just don't move around because you don't even have the strength to move out of there anyway. Yeah. Huh? You have to keep yourself hydrated. And for cholera, I do think they have antibiotics. It's not antibiotic resistant. Last time I checked, yeah. But yeah, very scary. You can dehydrate very quickly with this continuous diarrhea, yeah. And interesting thing about cholera is that the diarrhea, from what I heard, thank goodness, it doesn't really smell bad, right? Imagine one of those hospitals in old times, there were like 20 beds for these patients with the cholera, and everybody's like licking this diarrhea in buckets in that place. I mean, yeah. Imagine if the stuff would smell bad. You got in there, you faint, and then okay. So all right, cholera, bad one. So Neisseria. There are two types of Neisseria that can get you sick. One of them is Neisseria meningitis that causes meningitis. The other one is Neisseria gonorrhea that causes gonorrhea, okay, sexually transmitted disease, okay. And then you have also Haemophilus influenza that happens to be bacteria, not a virus. So examples of viruses, examples of bacteria that causes disease in human, right? Then you have fungi. Candida albicans is very common to develop for young babies who are breastfeeding to develop thrush, right, in the tongue. So Candida albicans is really the cause for that. And you have other types of fungi here that are very common diseases like ringworm. And yeah, okay, so then you have another one here for parasites. Those are the big guys, right? You have here Plasmodium species that cause malaria. We're going to look more into mechanisms of malaria later when you get into red blood cells, right? And amoeba, this guy is scary, okay? Ectoamoeba. And yeah, the bigger guys are, the ones that cause a lot more trouble. Okay, so important terms for overall immunology class is, first one is immunity. So when you have immunity, you are free from disease. Okay, so you're free from burden. That is what it means in Latin, I think. Okay. Pathogen is the stuff that is going to breach your immunity and cause disease. Okay, and then you have here your opportunistic pathogen that usually doesn't cause disease, but will cause disease if given the chance. And also, you know, I had mentioned the commensals, right? I forgot to mention here. Commensals. Those are your friendly bacteria. All right. So now you're going to start talking about your innate and your adaptive immune responses. So as we mentioned, innate stuff is something you are born with. And what determines that is really in your genes. Okay, so your genes are going to express certain proteins. They're going to go to the surface of your cells. Some of these proteins stay inside of the cell, and they are going to protect you against general patterns that are not human. Okay. Now you have different examples of innate immunities, like we're going to cover. The first thing that come to mind is physical innate immunity, but then you have other innate immunities like internal innate immunity, for example, to these viruses that causes disease in dogs. Okay, and I'm also going to mention this other form of immunity against HIV infection that was developed through manipulation of the genome. Okay, so CRISPR-Cas9 type of genome manipulation can also give you some form of innate immunity. So this stuff here is like you're born with. Okay. In comparison to adaptive immunity or acquired immunity, this is the part of your immune system that you have to teach. You have to be exposed to the pathogen or exposed to some foreign substance in order for you to develop that memory of that substance. So adaptive immunity or acquired immunity, you need to be exposed to the thing, and either you are going to be exposed by direct infection with the pathogen, or you can also expose your system through vaccination. Okay? If there is a vaccine against some pathogen, I would advise you to take the vaccine because that avoids you from being exposed to the real pathogen and developing the disease that can, possibly kill you. Okay? Yeah.
Getting vaccination will they have the same outcome?
Yes. Yes, we're going to get more into that when we get to the vaccines. Yeah. All right. So here's an example of your innate immunity. Okay, so genetic type of immunity. So you're born with this. So let's say we humans are really innately immune to this virus that causes canine distemper. So for not only for dogs but also for pigs and I think raccoons or some other species. Okay, so we have dogs, raccoons, skunks. Okay, so this type of infection can be very detrimental and deadly for those species. But we don't get infected with the virus. I mean, we don't get sick with the virus. That means we're totally immune to it. The reason is that cells in our body do not have the receptor that allows the virus to invade the cell. Okay, so if we don't have a receptor, that means you're not going to be infected with this virus. Okay, viruses by definition are intracellular parasites. Okay, they cannot replicate if they're not inside of the cell. And also by definition, viruses are not living things. Okay, so you don't have the receptor for a virus, you don't get infected. You're naturally immune to it. But if you are exposed to the virus, even though you're not getting infected, you can transport this virus from point A to point B. Okay, so let's say that you are working in a veterinary clinic and there comes a dog that has canine distemper and you take care of that dog, but you did not wear gloves. Okay, and then you go for your next appointment and you forgot to wash your hands, like you double whammy, right? You forgot to wash your hands, and then you go take care of this cute little puppy that is totally healthy, and now you transported the virus from one dog that was sick to another dog that was healthy. You did not get sick, but the other dog is going to get sick. okay, because you can be the transporter, the carrier of this virus and transmit the disease, okay? So it's very important when you're dealing with other species, and especially sick species, to really be conscious about not transporting these viruses, okay? All right. Now here is this cool example of this CRISPR-Cas9 basis. Who heard of these babies? Twin girls. You heard of it? You know what they did? Genes edited, yeah. They one gene edited. They had this one gene edited that deleted the expression of this co-receptor for HIV. So the co-receptor is the CCR5 receptor, which we're going to see when we get to lymphocytes, okay? So actually this receptor is present also in other cells. So what happened here, you had this physicist who edited the genes, and the main idea was that he did not want these babies to have this receptor so that the babies would not get infected with HIV. Now, why was this doctor concerned about the babies not getting infected with HIV? Well, basically because the father was HIV positive, okay? And this couple, they really want to have their own children. They don't want to go through any other means. They want to have their own biological children. So the doctor deleted the receptor gene, and these two babies were born. And from what I heard last time, they are still perfectly healthy. They were born in 2018. Okay, so they're what, 8 years old now, something like that. Okay, so theoretically speaking, it's something quite harmless, and they don't need this receptor anyway. This is like an extra receptor that has redundant functions, right? And they were born fine and healthy. And the problem with this is about ethical concerns, right? You're experimenting with babies here, human babies. Yeah, kind of a big ethical issue. Yes, and I know I'm blowing out the time. I told you I talk too much. So we're going to stop here, and we're going to pick up from here on Thursday.